The longer you stay, the more money you lose. Not because you're bad at your job, not because you made wrong decisions, because staying is the decision. And staying inside most corporate compensation systems is the most expensive financial choice you can make. You've probably felt this without being able to prove it, the sense that something isn't adding up, that the years you've invested, the relationships you've built, the institutional knowledge you've accumulated, none of it is showing up in your bank account the way it should. That feeling is correct, and today we're going to look at exactly why with numbers, with logic, and without the moral lecture about whether companies are good or bad. This isn't about loyalty being wrong, it's about understanding what loyalty actually costs you financially, because nobody tells you that number when you decide to stay. Fuck the idea that years of service build financial value inside the company that holds them. The data says the opposite, and the mechanism behind it is simpler than most people expect. By the way, I'm Ben. I've spent years studying the financial logic behind every decision companies make about their people. And the financial cost of loyalty is one of the most concrete, calculable things in this entire space. Here's the number that starts this conversation. People who switch companies see an average salary increase of 10 to 20% on their new offer, sometimes more in high demand sectors. People who stay see 3 to 4% per year. Let that comparison sit for a second. One move, one conversation, one signed offer letter, and you can capture what would take 3 to 5 years of raises to accumulate internally if those raises even kept pace with the market, which they almost never fully do. That's not a small gap. That's not a rounding error. That's a structural financial advantage that resets every time someone changes companies and compounds against everyone who doesn't. Here's why that gap exists. When you stay at a company, your salary moves on the internal raise cycle, 3%, 4%, calculated as a percentage of what you already earn, bounded by a merit matrix, constrained by a budget that was set in January before you did anything. When someone leaves and joins a new company, their salary gets set by a completely different process. The new company looks at the current market rate for that function at that experience level. They make an offer competitive enough to attract someone who doesn't need to move. And that offer reflects the market as it exists today, not as it existed 3 years ago when the person being replaced originally got hired. The new hire gets priced at current market. The loyal employee gets priced at historical market plus incremental raises. And historical market plus incremental raises almost never catches up to current market in a growing economy. This is why the person who just joined your team, less experienced, less context, less everything, can be earning more than you. You got priced years ago, they got priced today, and today's price is higher. Now, here's where the financial cost of staying becomes concrete. Take two people, same role, same company, same starting salary of $60,000. Person A stays, gets 4% raises every year for 5 years. After 5 years, they're earning around $73,000. Person B leaves after 2 years, gets a 15% bump to $69,000 at a new company, then gets 4% raises for 3 more years. After 5 years, they're earning around $77,600. Same starting point, same number of years. Person B earns $4,600 more per year after 5 years just from one move at year 2. Now compound that over a full career. Multiple moves at strategic moments, each one resetting the salary to current market, each reset compounding forward for years. The financial gap between someone who moves strategically and someone who stays consistently isn't marginal. Over a 10 or 15-year career, it can represent hundreds of thousands of dollars in cumulative earnings. That's the real cost of loyalty, not a feeling, a number. Real quick, if you're already doing the math on your own salary history, you know what to do. Because the reason companies benefit from your loyalty is the part most people never see clearly. Here's why companies don't correct this on their own. When you stay, you become what finance calls a known cost. Your salary is on the books, it's budgeted, it's predictable, and predictable costs are easy to manage. When you leave, you become a replacement cost. Recruiting fees, onboarding time, productivity gap during transition, lost institutional knowledge. The total cost of replacing an employee is typically estimated at 50 to 200% of their annual salary, depending on seniority and specialization. So companies have a genuine financial incentive to keep you. Retention is cheaper than replacement, and the tool they use to retain you is your raise, calibrated not to fairly compensate you, but to keep the replacement calculation in their favor. They don't need to pay you market rate. They need to pay you just enough that leaving feels more disruptive than staying. That's the threshold. And your loyalty, your relationships, your institutional knowledge, your comfort with the existing environment raises that threshold every year you stay. The more invested you become emotionally, socially, professionally, the higher the psychological cost of leaving. And the higher that cost, the less the company needs to pay to keep you below it. Your loyalty doesn't increase your leverage, it reduces it. Every year you stay without creating competitive pressure, you make it easier and cheaper for the company to keep your salary where it is. Here's the layer that makes this permanent if you let it run long enough. After enough years inside the same company, your salary becomes anchored, not just to the internal raise cycle, to your identity inside the organization. You're known at a certain level, compensated at a certain range, and that range becomes the reference point for every internal conversation about your pay. Promotions get calculated as percentages above your current number. Adjustments get made relative to your existing salary. The anchor holds outside, none of that history exists. A new company doesn't know what you earned before. They price the role. They price your experience. And they make an offer based on what it takes to bring someone with your profile on board today. The anchor disappears. The market takes over. And market pricing for someone with your years of experience and demonstrated performance is almost always higher than what the internal raise cycle produced. This is why the same person can feel underpaid at their current company and well compensated at a new one without changing anything about who they are or what they can do. The number changed because the pricing mechanism changed. Internal anchor versus external market. The difference between those two things is the cost of loyalty made visible. Most people will watch this and think, I know I should have left earlier, and then stay anyway, because the financial logic is clear, but the human logic is complicated. The relationships are real. The comfort is real. The risk of moving feels larger than the abstract number on a spreadsheet, but the number on the spreadsheet is also real, and it compounds every year in the direction that isn't yours. If you're still here, you now see the financial architecture of a decision most people make emotionally without ever running the numbers. If this is the content you've been looking for, you know what to do. Here's what I want you to take from this. Loyalty costs you money, not because companies are villains, because the internal raise cycle was never designed to keep pace with the external market. And the external market is where your salary gets reset to its real value. Every year you stay, the gap between your internal salary and your external market value grows. Your loyalty raises the psychological cost of leaving. Your raise lowers the financial pressure the company feels to close the gap. And the anchor of your existing salary pulls every future internal conversation away from what the market would actually pay you. The longer you stay, the more that gap compounds. That's not a moral argument. It's not an instruction. It's just the number. And now you know what it is.